Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Trig Podcast with Joey and Gosa TV on this hot and dry Saturday, October 26, 2019. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to this video. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you also go to davidtrig.com/free coaching for your free coaching session. Talking today about how to overcome trauma, PTSD, these memories that haunt us, that affect how we live, how we love, how we dream. I don't know about you, but I've been very aware of the trauma that's been in my life. When I was a young boy, you know my story. I went through a major war in my native country, and that, I would say, wasn't even the biggest trauma. I would say living away from my parents for the next 10, 15, 20 years, especially during my teenage years, was traumatic. And so issues of sexuality, of success, of education, of what am I good at, Dad, were absent from my life, not because of a lack of love, but because of just the physical separation. Then immigration was maybe even the number one trauma, the fear, if you're an immigrant, of not knowing if you're going to stay in the country and if someone's going to come and get you. That's why all of us immigrants relate to the current problems that we face as a nation. And then the illness of my beautiful and beloved abuelita, who I lived with, who raised me since I was basically 10, 11, and worrying that she may not live or that she would not be able to take care of me and send me back to a place that no longer was my home. So combining all those things created a major traumatic experience for me, what people would call post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD, which then began to show up in my life as anxiety, as fear, letting people walk all over me, not defending myself. And I went through, I would say, the trauma and the blessing of the white evangelical church for the next 20 years or so, where because of envy and jealousy and prejudice, I was constantly put down by many white evangelical leaders and just the nature of sometimes of church structure for someone of color like me was very antagonistic and pessimistic. And even though there was a lot of love and a lot of positive things, there was so much negativity that came my way. And I, because of my own fear and all these things, I didn't say anything. I kind of just became silent until finally I began to wake up, and through therapy and through the love of my wife and through the love of Jesus and my mom and all of these books and resources and etc., I've learned to become fearless. I understand that I am a broken man, that I can be just as given to sin and to fear and to all these things as anyone. And yet I've learned a ton. And yet it still shows up sometimes. Sometimes I'll still give into that fear of being fired. I've been fired from jobs. I've been through challenges in my own life. And sometimes that post-traumatic stress from those experiences can trigger me back to that scared little boy. But through all these different resources, I've learned to be the confident kid that I've always been. And because the reality is that I grew up a very happy and confident young man, and who you see today is exactly how I was when I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, confident and full of joy and grace and silly and all over the place. And yet someone who inspired others, especially through music and through my love and through kindness and generosity. Now I share my story. I don't have a book or I don't have any famous anything, a radio show. I'm not Charlemagne the God, who is someone who I relate to a lot, but I am my own person, and through these resources and through these means of social media and this show, etc., I share my story to help other people that have been through similar experiences to know that though there's pain in the night, gozo comes in the morning. Gozo, by the way, means joy in Spanish. And that's why that verse, Psalm 30, verse 6, is so key to me, because I know the pain of the night, just like you do. But I also know that there comes a morning, there comes that moment of breakthrough, and then now you have to live in that breakthrough for the rest of your life. And so I want to give you 3 tips on how to overcome past trauma. First is to recognize the trauma. I think for most of us who live in this trauma, we don't like to go back and think about it. I remember when I was maybe 9 years old, I had this teacher who invited me over to her house. Basically, I don't know exactly what her intentions were. And I was on my way to her house, and I remember hearing the Holy Spirit say, turn around. I was just in seventh grade. And there have been so many things when it comes to sexuality and relationships that have been so almost like, just traumatic for me. Mistakes that I've made, relationships that I've had, experiences, people, things that people have done to me, against me, that have, in many ways, woken me up and caused me a lot of trauma. And if you don't recognize those things in your life, whether it's sexual stuff, whether it's alcoholism, I was listening to a person who said that his dad would leave Playboy magazines laying around, and when he was 5, was this Kanye West? I think it was. He then got into pornography and sexual addiction for the rest of his life. So whatever traumatic experiences you've had as a young person, you have to become aware of the impact that they've had, even if they make you feel ashamed or broken, or maybe you want to blame that father or that experience. You have to come to grips and really embrace that experience, because hiding or running from it or blaming yourself will only harm you even more. Number 2 is to find a trained professional to walk you through the recovery of that traumatic experience or experiences. So as you know, I've been through to therapy, and my first or second therapist was actually probably my best one, a young person, maybe in her 20s. And I was by now maybe in my 30s or so. And she said, you are a perfect candidate for long-term therapy. And at the moment I hated her, but she was right. But knowing that has actually been freeing for me. I'm not afraid to say that I've been to therapy, and I went, 3 months ago, and I've taken medication and all these things, these tools, as well as prayer and exercising demons and all the rest. All of these things have helped me, and I'm an advocate of this. Now, do people use it against me? Yes. Some people use it against me. Some people think I'm weak because I shouldn't be this way, or I'm a man, or I'm a pastor, and all that stuff. It doesn't really matter to me, because I know where I would be without that help. And so you have to come to a place where you ask for help and you reach out to a coach like myself, to an actual therapist, to a spiritual guide, to a spiritual mentor. Not just your mom, not just God, not just your best friend, not just your parents, not just someone you're texting, or Gary V online, or whoever your favorite YouTube personality is. You have to actually talk to an individual who understands you, who's trained. Oh, I don't have the money. There are so many resources and ways that you can do this without the cost that you sometimes associate with therapy. It's important that you call someone, that you talk to a trained professional. And if you've been there, but you haven't been back, or it's been a while, you have to go back if you are still dealing with some sort of trauma. And then I think the last thing is to focus on serving other people. Serving other people. How do you recover from trauma? Is really by realizing that your story is meant for others. That your trauma, your pain, your recovery is meant for others. Don't go around sharing your life unless you've actually recovered from the trauma. Nobody wants to hear your pain and your dirty laundry, or your complaining online. That's useless. That's not exactly very useful, or that's not exactly very effective. But if you can be someone who can share your story in a hopeful way, then people will benefit from that. Learn how to share your story with other people in a way that helps others. Talk about your trauma in a way that is going to serve other people. And even if you don't use your story of trauma and recovery as your message, it doesn't matter. Serve other people regardless. Because when you and I serve, then we feel more connected to our purpose. When I do music, when I speak, when I'm here in front of you in this show, talking, sharing my story, I feel like I know my purpose in life, even though there are so many other people that do it better or different, or I don't have any followers, whatever excuse you may have for why you're not sharing your story. You have to eliminate that stuff. And you have to instead focus on serving other people. There is no greater purpose in life than to serve other people. But I would say make sure that you've gone through those first two steps. Again, we're talking today about how to overcome traumatic experiences, what people call PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. And what I mentioned is first, you have to embrace it. Second is you have to recover. And third is you have to share your story. Very important to share your story with other people. And that's why I have this show. And that's why I am a certified anxiety coach. That's why I'm a pastor and musician. It's because it's not enough just to simply live in your past or to try to even get better. That's good. It's important to recover. It's important to find your way back to hope and joy and gozo. But the greatest gift that you and I have is to share our gift with other people, to help other people recover from their own mistakes, recover from their own past. Even if you're not a doctor or a therapist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but I'm someone who is trying to help people. You can do the same. How can you help people from or through your experiences? I'll close with this. Back in 2013, so almost now 7 years ago, I did a conference called the Finding Grace Through Anxiety Conference. One of the best moments of my life. I had my therapist up there. I had a nurse. I had my other therapist. I had musicians. We had food. We had 100 people in the room. I thought we'd have 4 people. It was a great day. We even sang Pharrell's Happy Because I'm Happy. And I had beach balls that I bought at the 99-cent store. And we were all just throwing the balls around and having a good old time. And then had the taco lady, the whole thing. Why was that the best day of my life? Because it was my story of recovery, of trauma, but I was sharing it with other people and I was helping other people. And this is before the current trend, I guess, of now everyone talks about anxiety and fear and all these things. I was talking about it 7 years ago, before it was cool. And I was a Christian. I am a Christian leader, male, Latino. I don't know of any Latino pastors or any Latino period, men much less, that talk so openly about mental health, fear, anxiety as I do, and are here to help other people, not living in it, not condemned by it. Oh, I should pray. I should, all this stuff, right? Imagine now, and still there aren't any people. I don't know of anyone who's talking about this, but I am here to start this and to continue this trend, I guess. It's not about me. My point is this: what can you do, even if no one else is doing it, that will impact the culture, that will help people, that will help your friends, that will help someone through YouTube or through whatever means you have? It might not even be an online thing. You might just simply help someone that you know, your own kids, your own family. Someone needs your help. Somebody out there needs your life experience, as imperfect as it may be, so that they can find the hope that they need. You know, lastly, a few weeks ago, someone that I really cared for passed away, and that was a very sad moment for me. But out of all the things that this man did, what I remember the most was the moment that he was telling me about the brokenness in his life. And that really changed me. Imagine if you could be that person, that even though you're doing so many good things for people, but maybe you've never shared your brokenness. What he told me about was a divorce that he went through. Imagine if you could talk to someone else, not about all your good things and all your hopes and dreams and blah, blah, but about your brokenness, about your divorce, your bankruptcy, your failure, your sexual addiction, your problem with weight gain or with anxiety, depression. You're like, well, why? Why talk about it? People will hate on me. Yes, some people will. Some people will judge you, condemn you. They'll think worse things of you. But you might help that one person, those 10 people, that thousands of people. I have no idea, but I know that to embrace who we really are, the whole of us, not just the good, not just the bad, but all of us in Christ as people and women who are looking to God for help, is is life. That's where the life really is. And you don't know who you might be able to help. My prayer for you today is that you will be true to yourself, that you will recover, that you will get the help that you need, and that you will share your story with others. And who knows, maybe you will write a book. Maybe you will be a famous podcaster. Maybe you will be anonymous, but you will impact your child. You will impact a parent. You will impact a friend. If you would like to get on that road to recovery, there's a link at the bottom of this video, davidtrig.com/free coaching, davidtrig.com/free coaching. I would love to sit down with you and listen to your story and to begin to help you figure out the trauma in your life, how to recover, and then how to share your story with other people so that you can live what we call here a life of ghosts. So thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I will see you next time. Hasta la vista.